Hello, and welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Today, we are deep diving into a medical technology that sounds like it was ripped straight from the pages of a science fiction novel. We are going to talk about a device that challenges our very definition of what it means to be alive. We are talking about the end of the heartbeat. Not death, but life without a pulse. We are looking at the BiVACOR Total Artificial Heart, a titanium machine that uses the same technology as high-speed bullet trains to suspend life in magnetic silence. Let's start with the biology you were born with. The human heart is, frankly, an intimidating standard to live up to. It is a biological masterpiece, a muscular engine that beats roughly 100,000 times every single day. That is 35 million times a year. In an average lifetime, your heart will contract and relax about 2.5 billion times. It is a tireless percussionist, thumping out the rhythm of life until, for millions of people, it simply stops. Heart failure is a massive global crisis, affecting 20 to 30 million people. For decades, medicine has chased a ghost. We have been trying to build a mechanical replacement that can match the endurance of nature, and for a long time, we failed. To understand why the new Maglev heart is such a revolution, we have to look at the graveyard of failures that preceded it. Since Dr. Denton Cooley implanted the first total artificial heart in 1969, the field has been plagued by a simple, brutal engineering problem known as friction. The human heart is a positive displacement pump. It squeezes and relaxes. It is a bag of muscle. Early artificial hearts, like the famous Jarvik 7, tried to mimic this action. They used diaphragms, sacs, and valves that snapped open and shut. They were literal pumps. While these devices saved lives, they came with a heavy price. The mechanical violence of beating caused parts to wear out. The flexing membranes created zones of stagnation where blood could clot, leading to strokes. And they were loud. Patients described the sound as a constant, rhythmic clop, clop, clop that kept them, and their spouses, awake at night. It was a relentless, audible reminder of their precarious existence. This created a paradox for engineers. How do you build a machine that moves 5 to 10 liters of blood per minute, 24 hours a day for years, but never touches itself? Any surface that rubs against another will eventually grind to dust. Any valve that snaps shut will eventually crack. The answer, it turned out, was to stop trying to be a heart. You have to stop the beat. This brings us to the story of the Maglev heart, specifically the BiVACOR Total Artificial Heart. The origin of this device is not found in a sterile high-tech laboratory with billions of dollars in funding, but in a backyard shed in Brisbane, Australia. The story begins with Daniel Timms. He was a PhD student in biomedical engineering, and he was watching his father, Gary, a plumber, suffer from a massive heart attack. Watching his father's heart fail, Timms became obsessed with finding a solution. He realized that nature's design, the flexing pumping chambers, was too complex to replicate mechanically with any real durability. He needed something simpler. Drawing on his father's trade, they went to Bunnings, which is a massive Australian hardware chain, and they bought PVC pipes. They built a rudimentary circulatory loop in their garage. They started tinkering with the idea of a rotary pump, something like a garden sprinkler or a turbocharger, rather than a pulsing sac. Now, rotary pumps were already used in things called ventricular assist devices, or VADs. These help a failing heart pump, but they do not replace it. These pumps spun a propeller to push blood, but they had a fatal flaw for a total heart replacement. They required bearings. Bearings generate heat. Bearings generate friction. And in the blood, bearings generate clots. So Timms had a radical idea. What if the propeller didn't touch anything? What if it floated? He looked at the technology used in high-speed trains, magnetic levitation, or Maglev. If powerful magnets could float a 50-ton train above a track to eliminate friction, surely they could float a small titanium disc inside a heart. And that is exactly what they did. Let's look at the anatomy of this machine. The BiVACOR is a masterclass in minimalist engineering. It is roughly the size of a human fist and weighs about 650 grams. But the magic lies in its single moving component. It is a rotor. This rotor is a double-sided impeller made of titanium, weighing roughly 45 grams. This single disc is the only part of the machine that moves. There are no valves. There are no flexing sacs. There is just one spinning disc. This design solves one of the hardest problems in artificial heart design, which is left-right balance. You see, the left ventricle of a human heart must pump much harder than the right because it has to push blood to the entire body against high pressure. The right side only pushes blood next door to the lungs against low pressure. If an artificial heart pumps equally to both, it will flood the lungs with blood, causing pulmonary edema while starving the body. The BiVACOR's single rotor handles this elegantly. Because both sides of the impeller are on the same spinning disc, they turn at the same speed. However, the hydraulic design of the vanes ensures that the output is proportional. The device uses a smart, virtual zero-power controller that adjusts the magnetic field thousands of times a second. If the patient coughs or stands up, changing the pressure in their chest, the magnetic field detects the shift in the rotor's position and adjusts instantly. It effectively auto-balances the blood flow, just like a biological heart, but without any biological sensors. When the device is turned on, electromagnets lift the titanium rotor and hold it suspended in the center of the casing. There is no contact, no ball bearings, no friction. Because there is no contact, there is no mechanical wear. Theoretically, the device could run for decades without degrading. And because there is no thumping compression, the device is silent. Patients do not hear a beat. They feel a vibration, a quiet hum of life. It is a pump that does not pulse. It hums. This leads to the most mind-bending aspect of the Maglev heart. It produces pulseless blood flow. If you were to feel the wrist of a patient with a BiVACOR heart, you might not find a pulse at all. Their blood flows in a continuous stream, like water from a tap, rather than in spurts. This was initially a huge concern for doctors. Would the body's organs survive without the rhythmic shock of a pulse? Years of research have shown that the body is surprisingly adaptable. The kidneys, the liver, and the brain function perfectly well, with continuous flow. However, to prevent stagnation and mimic biology slightly, the BiVACOR controller is programmed to cycle its speed rapidly, changing the RPM to create an artificial pulse sensation. But make no mistake, this is a digital ghost of a heartbeat, created by code, not muscle. After years of testing in cabs, who famously jogged on treadmills while powered by the device, the BiVACOR was ready for humanity. The first major milestone happened in July 2024 at the Texas Heart Institute in Houston. A 57-year-old man with end-stage heart failure became the first human to receive the device. Surgeons removed his failing ventricles and clipped the titanium cuffs of the BiVACOR into place. When they switched it on, the room didn't fill with the sound of a compressor. The monitors simply showed flow. The patient lived for 8 days with the titanium heart before a donor organ became available. It was a successful bridge to transplant. But the true turning point came months later, in late 2024, at St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney, Australia. A 40-year-old Australian man, dying of total heart failure, received the implant. Unlike previous patients who were tethered to massive hospital consoles, this man recovered, stood up, and eventually went home. He carried a small, portable controller bag weighing about 4 kilograms, containing the batteries and the computer that drove the Maglev field. He spent 105 days supported by the device. He slept in his own bed. He spent Christmas with his family. He walked around his neighborhood. For the first time, a patient with a total artificial heart was not a prisoner of the hospital. The device simply hummed away in his chest, levitating that 45-gram rotor day and night until a donor heart was found in early 2025. When he was wheeled in for his transplant, he was strong, healthy, and nourished. This was a stark contrast to the wasted state of many patients waiting on hospital wards. So why is this device so important? The math of heart failure is cruel. Globally, every year, hundreds of thousands of people reach end-stage heart failure where medicines no longer work. Their only hope is a transplant. But there are only about 6,000 donor hearts available worldwide each year. The gap is catastrophic. For every one person who gets a heart, thousands die waiting. The goal of the BiVACOR and the Maglev heart technology is to change the paradigm from bridge to transplant to something called destination therapy. Destination therapy means the device is the cure. If the Maglev heart is durable enough, if it truly doesn't wear out because of that frictionless suspension, a patient could receive it and live out the rest of their natural life without ever needing a donor organ. Imagine a future where a diagnosis of heart failure isn't a lottery ticket for a transplant, but a scheduled appointment to install a titanium upgrade. That is the promise of this technology. Of course, challenges remain. The device still requires external power. A driveline cable exits the patient's abdomen to connect to batteries, which is an infection risk. The Holy Grail is a fully implantable system with wireless charging, which is currently in development. There are also concerns about blood trauma. Even without friction, spinning blood at thousands of RPM can shear red blood cells. And of course, there is the cost. Titanium and rare earth magnets are expensive. But the progress is undeniable. The Maglev heart is more than a pump. It is a symbol of human resilience. It is the realization of a son's promise to his dying father, forged in a shed and refined in the world's best laboratories. It challenges our very definition of life. For millennia, life has been defined by the pulse. Doctors check for a pulse to declare death. Poets write about the beating heart of passion. But the patients of the future may have no pulse at all. They will be alive, warm, thinking, and loving, sustained by a 45-gram titanium disc spinning silently in a magnetic cradle. As the Australian patient proved, you don't need a heartbeat to be alive. You just need flow. Thanks for listening to G Fun Facts Online.